Friends, remember you can always reach us at Gamescoop at IGN.com, just like Jacob Safari did.
That's an awesome name.
Yeah.
And I looked it up. Safari is apparently a legit last name.
What?
Is this where you
Yeah.
looked up the?
Yes.
Are we going to talk about that?
Not really.
Okay.
Just a quick. I googled is Safari a real last name? That brought me to the U.S. Census website, where they have census data on families with the name Safari. And really quick, there's a link there that will give the life expectancy for this family name.
For different last names.
Yeah.
How long's he got?
It was a little under. Like if
really?
80's the median now, it was a little bit under.
Oh, man.
That's why I didn't look up my own name.
That would be the first name.
Yeah, of course, man. So Safaris are dangerous as hell.
Anyway.
Drafts there.
I'm 78, David, and I feel my time is growing short. What
Like if my name was the Joey Time Bomb, like you'd be like, oh, he's not gonna make it that long.
Joey Time Bomb. You were just born into a mafia family.
Anyway, Jacob's subject is, are games too long? Dear GameScoop, with the awesome plethora of titles out across all systems, it's hard to experience them all. I currently own a PS4, PS3, and a Wii U. There are many good games in my backlog that haven't even started yet, which begs the question, are games too long? I recently stopped playing Assassin's Creed 4 about 2/3 of the way through, after about 30 hours and a solid month of gameplay, not because it was bad, just because I wanted to experience other titles. Should developers scale back the time it takes to complete a game so we can more likely see them through to the end, or must we be forced to quit games before completion just so we can experience as much as possible?
Forced if you want to see the end.
Yeah.
Well, he says forced to quit games.
Right.
I think he's putting that pressure on himself, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, a lot of people, like you have multiple systems. A lot of people just have one system. You know?
Right.
Greg and I talk about this all the time, about how like the perfect sweet spot's sort of like 6 to 8 hours, maybe 10 hours. It's just like
For us.
For you.
Yeah, but it depends on the type of game, right?
Yeah,
Like,
I think for a lot of people, a long game is a selling point
Right.
for them.
Right. Because I mean, some people there are people that only buy a few games a year, and they either do it because of money or because they just want to focus on only a few games a year. And there are people that want to experience more and more. And I think the money thing gets kind of thrown out the window when you have stuff like GameFly and stuff now. Like there's, what is it? Redbox, where you can walk up, put a few bucks in, get a game for a few days, and then play it. So I think the money thing it used to be a big point, but I don't think it is anymore. But I think most people now, it's still this norm that, I mean, we read it in the IGN comments all the time. When a game is like less than 20 hours, it's like, oh, that was the developers are lazy. They didn't make it. And I disagree. Like,
we do see the opposite too, though. Like, oh, I don't have time for that's why a lot of people say they quit RPGs.
Yeah, and I mean, I would love an RPG that was 10 hours. And I know that's almost impossible
Costume
to do.
Quest?
Sure, stuff like that is great for me. But when it comes to like your Assassin's Creeds and Heavy Rains and stuff like that, they come out every year. I don't think I want to spend 35 hours playing them. I would love to do them in 10.
I mean, I was just saying it is a little weird. I think it's something that's specific to gaming, where gamers seem to be obsessed with the length of games, and it's not new.
Yeah.
I remember reading game magazines back in the 16-bit days, and they'd be like, "Oh, Square Enix is prepping, 40-hour RPG."
Yeah,
I'm working
it's just
on
something that people want to know how long games are before they start them.
Right.
I'm working on a feature essay. I don't exactly have it figured out yet, but this is a topic that I want to explore, where this is not a problem that albums, TVs, movies, even books have. Yeah. Nothing else has this problem but games. Some people might want to not read a book because it's 1,000 words. They don't want to read War and Peace because it's intimidating.
Radiohead has a new album out. How long is the album?
Yeah.
No one's saying I don't want to get the new
that.
Chuck Palahniuk book because it's not 300 pages.
Yeah.
But with video games, I don't see it as a problem. I just see it as this really interesting thing about this medium, is that the breadth of, like, an album can be, hardcore death metal or like opera, but they still follow the same basic, like, they're going to be this, 30 minutes to what would the longest album ever be? Like, maybe 90?
I don't know the longest album of all
I mean, even the thing
call yourself a musician.
Like a game can be anything. A game can be like a 5-minute Flash game or XBLA game, or it can be a 100-hour epic like Skyrim, or 300-hour epic. And
the albums are weird because the longest albums are defined, or at least were, by the medium that they could be pressed to, like vinyl or CD.
Yeah.
So you would have like a double, triple CD, or you'd have like those old gatefold vinyls that had like a stack of records inside, and you're switching them every 10 minutes and stuff like that. But I don't like pick up a book and go, is not heavy enough. It must be bad.
It's
and then
weird.
Put it down.
Yeah, but I mean,
Or-
there's an investment, right? Like you're picking up a book that's probably tops $20,
Yeah.
right? Like whereas a video game's $60 if you're buying a full price, thing.
Sure.
And that's where it comes from. You don't want to spend if you're a kid, you don't want to spend $60 on something that's going to last you 3 hours. And then if you're old men like us, you don't want to spend $60 on something you're only going to play a fifth of because you're so busy and have to do other things.
I do think game developers are getting better than ever. I think they're aware of this as a problem or issue or something that they want to tackle from their design. And more games are making it a lot of stuff after the end optional. Nintendo puts all the hard stuff in Mario games after you rescue the princess, after you beat Bowser.
Yep.
I haven't played 3D World yet, but 3D Land had 8 more worlds. The game is twice as long as you might think it would be, and those 8 worlds seem like they're for the adults or
And
for the core
I really like that approach too, because it helps the sort of scalability of it, and it also helps diversify the age groups that play it. Like a 5-year-old kid can play 3D World and breeze through it, but me, when I sit there, like I want to collect everything in each level, and that like makes it much harder.
And they're not just pointless doodads. Like each of the coins is its own little puzzle.
Sure.
So they've gotten smarter about that compared to Donkey Kong 64.
I appreciate that. I appreciate like the new game plus stuff that they do to sort of like entice me to come back and be like, I really love it, and I know I can play it again in 10 hours or 12 hours or something like that.
The perfect example for me is my wife played through and beat Skyrim. And she was playing it a little bit every day, and I was, hey, what did you do in Skyrim today? Oh, I beat the game. I'm like, what, really? Like, how did you? But she didn't. She just went straight through.
That's what I was going to say.
One mission to the next, and I'm like, what percent of that game did she see? There's besides the 4 major quest lines, the 4 guild quest lines, like, there's whole cities that you never even get close to in the campaign. So she saw 10% of that game, maybe.
That's why he gave the example of Assassin's Creed 4, and that is a huge game that you can get sucked into. But I bet if you just went from story mission to story mission, it's
maybe 12 hours.
Yeah.
And so, but you and I played that game the same way, where we did every optional thing we could before we moved on. But you don't have to play that way. So Assassin's Creed, I think developers are doing a lot better about giving you a lot more to chew off if you want, but they don't force you to.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, Assassin's Creed 4 was like, I didn't care about the story. You know what I mean? I love that game and had such a great time, but I was playing it over break, and I was playing it in little chunks around like the holidays. And then when I finally sat down for a weekend with it and played, I finally got my fill of it for that moment. You know what I mean? Where I was like, I explored all the islands I had in front of me, and then I pulled back, and I had so much more to do that I was like, not now. You know what I mean? I'm done. I've seen what this game is. I love this game, but I don't need to sit here and do the next 2/3 of it this way. I can go do whatever I want.
So that's the interesting thing. Like, Justin, you said your wife played Skyrim, but how did she know to not do any of the optional stuff? And like, what? Because to me, I get distracted, and I'm like, whoa, that looks awesome. Maybe I can get an extra sword over there. Or maybe I can do this quest over here. And I'm like, I'll come to the main thing later, but I'm going to run over here.
Right.
I just think she doesn't care. I think like she's playing Fallout 3 now too. And I'm like, are you doing any of the missions for Moira or any of that optional stuff? She's like, no, I don't care about any of those townspeople. I don't care about what their problems are.
Wow.
She's in it for
like
the story.
Yeah, she's just trying to get her
main
dad
story.
back.
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
like,
Which makes that game super short.
Yeah.
yeah.